Well, this is an interesting experiment. Going live on Substack. I didn't even know you could do that at one point, but I thought I'd give it a shot. Now, we're going to wait and see if some people show up and ask questions. Okay, we're getting some people in. Cool. See that I wasn't even sure that if I did a live on TikTok, if anybody would even show up. So thank you for doing that. Um, Those of you that know me know kind of what to expect. I'm relatively new to Substack. I had a lot of people coming to me saying, "Oh man, you should go on Substack." And every time I went to Substack, it looked a little too sophisticated for me. People were writing these prose and all these paragraphs and stuff. And I can write a bit too, but I'm too fucking lazy. I'm a lazy bastard. I don't want to write the stuff out. Why would I write it out when I could say it? And then I realized you can put videos up too. Okay, cool. So I did that. And then I started getting followers. We've got this whole thing with TikTok going on, and I'm getting tired of TikTok. I've got a lot of followers over there, so I can't just bail on them. But you have to look to the future a little bit. Most of my stuff is also on YouTube and Blue Sky, but I kind of like the way Substack works. It's magic. It's not TikTok, it's not YouTube. It's somewhere kind of in between, and that's cool with me. We've got 41 people in here. Shit, I didn't know that anybody would show up. So thank you very much for that. I don't know if you guys can ask questions or what the hell you can do. I see that you've joined. If there's an option to ask a question or make a comment about something, I'll read it off and then I'll respond to it appropriately. Again, I don't even know if that's a thing. I don't know. I'm trying this for the first time, so you're going to have to bear with me. But I wanted to take a little time and talk about some of the goofy shit that's going on. Granted, it's Saturday, and typically during the weekends, the news is a little slower, but not when Donald Trump is the president of the United States. See, when he's president of the United States, every day's a fucking shit show. Every day is a shit show with Donald Trump. We wake up this morning and we find out that Donald Trump fired 12 or more inspector generals. Now, if you don't know what those folks are, they're kind of a bipartisan judge, if you will, between the government and the politicians. They dictate whether or not what either one of them wants to do is legitimate or legal or any of those types of things. So he fired 12 of them. Some people say, why? Well, because it's fucking Donald Trump. He doesn't have to have any reason. He's trying to show people how tough he is. Nobody's really come up with a concept as to why he did it. But again, most of the stuff that Donald Trump does makes no rhyme or reason. Stacy Hall is saying, hi, love Substack and love you. So happy you are here. Well, Stacy, thank you very much. Again, I had a bunch of people. I had Abe Won't Be Silent telling me, go on Substack. And as my wife will attest to, I don't listen very well. I have to kind of figure it out for myself. And I did, and I kind of like it. It's a little more low key than what we're dealing at TikTok. Hopefully, we won't run into as many Trump-a-fucks. Um, Marie says, I'm new on this app and haven't learned the ins and outs. You and me both. You and me both. What else we got? I did close TikTok, Facebook, and Instagram. I got rid of Facebook and Instagram, but as some of you may know, they banned me from Facebook and Instagram anyway. They said, what did you do? I said, it's the same shit that you see on Substack or Blue Sky or YouTube or TikTok. It's all the same stuff. I didn't do anything special or anything especially crazy on Facebook, but apparently it was too much for Mark Zuckerberg. He didn't like that I was being mean to Donald Trump. Holly says, been here for a week and it's been great. Glad you're here. Found you on TikTok. Well, thank you very much, Holly. Glad we found each other here. I've been surprised by how many followers I've been able to get on this site so quickly. TJ says I have no idea what I'm doing. Um, Brown Eyed Girl says I followed you and got notified. That's interesting because after TikTok shut down and came back on again, there were people that were unfollowed and all kinds of a mess. It's nice to know that you can have an app that actually fucking works and does what it's supposed to do. Um, Kimberly Hunt, who's going to stop the orange guy? Well, the orange guy is going to stop the orange guy. That's what always happens. He's incompetent. He's a fool. He's kind of raging right now because he's trying to sow some chaos and fear. And that's what I tell people all the time. Donald Trump is a bully. The Republicans are bullies. They don't really have a lot of substance. All they can do is try to make you afraid. And the moment you become afraid of these fucks, that's when they win. So don't let them win. Donald Trump is making all kinds of threats and suggestions about what he's going to do. A lot of times Democrats will say, oh my God, he's going to do it. Think back to his first term. What did he get done? He got the tax cut for the wealthy, and that's about it. He talked a great game, but he didn't have the competence or the wherewithal to get it done. And back then, he had some relatively normal people on his cabinet. This time around, he doesn't. He's going to have a hard time with the cabinet he has, Donald Trump's own lack of ability, and then you throw in very slim margin in the House and the filibuster in the Senate. It's going to be tough for him to get anything done. Stacey Hall says, "I'll follow you anywhere." Thank you for that. Uh, Donna Costanzo says, "I follow you on all platforms. You're on. Love your content. Thank you. I appreciate. I can't tell you how much I appreciate that. Is there moderation on this platform? No, not yet. I know I talked to TJ the plumber. I thought that might be him here. TJ the plumber, who is the moderator on TikTok and on YouTube. By the way, I'm going to do a live on YouTube a little later too. So if you don't catch all of this one, we'll be talking about all kinds of different stuff on that as well. Betsy, I feel like I'm living in a nightmare. It does seem to be kind of a bizarro world. All of the things that are happening now, I couldn't in my wildest dreams imagine that they would actually happen, like Donald Trump being elected president. If you listened to me prior to the election, I own it, man. I was wrong. I thought there was no way Kamala loses, no way Donald Trump wins. And I think it was a fair guesstimate when you consider the fact that Donald Trump was the absolute worst candidate for president in the history of this country. And Kamala Harris, while she only had a short time, she had probably one of the most enthusiastic groups of people behind her, and she had a ton of money. There's no reason in the world Kamala should have lost. But here we are. So it does kind of feel like we're living in a nightmare or some surreal other parallel universe. It's like it's like everything's going along pretty good, and then something happened, and we all got put in this parallel universe that sucks. Here's the thing. It's going to get better. We go through tough times. It will get better. Donald Trump won't be able to do all the things he says he's going to do, and a lot of people are going to say, "Oh, what a dope." And that's what they should be saying now. Julie Bruce says, I want to know what you think will happen to the active duty military. We already know what's going to happen with the VA. That's a good question. I know there's a lot of people concerned about Pete Hegseth being the Secretary of Defense. Over and above his drinking and sexual abuse and all those sorts of things, he is just simply unqualified. He's run some veterans organizations that were much smaller. He's run them into the ground. And now we're talking about a department with 3 million people in it and $1 trillion budget. This doesn't bode well. I will tell you this, though, if I remember correctly, nobody lasted with Donald Trump too long. If you think back to his first term, how many defense secretaries did he have in that 4 year term? As far as my count goes, it's either four or five. So that would suggest that Pete Hegseth probably won't last very long at this point. Uh, let's see here. JD Vance is behind the scenes implementing Project 2025. Okay, I want to get to that because there's a lot of people going, oh, Project 2025 is coming. This is going to happen. Donald Trump said this. JD Vance said that. That's not how it works. Donald Trump doesn't get to just say something and then boom, it happens. Same with JD Vance. All these things they want to do, like birthright citizenship, They got to go through courts. They got to go through Congress. Doesn't Donald Trump or JD Vance doesn't have the power to just make it happen. They might do some abhorrent shit, some shit that we don't like, but to think he's going to get it all done and implement the Project 2025 in its entirety, that's not going to happen. It's not going to happen the way you think. Can we survive a 4 year shit show? Yeah, we can survive anything. I don't know how old you are, Cynthia, but if you remember the 1960s with the war in Vietnam, four major assassinations, hippies, riots, civil rights, all these things. The 60s were a very turbulent time. I was pretty young at the time, but that was pretty crazy. And somehow we got through that. The 70s were a little better, at least for me, because I was in high school and I was partying my ass off. Um, Christy says the orange turd is in my city today. I fucking hate him. I guess you must be talking about Las Vegas. Yeah, he was there talking about all the tax-free tips and all that stuff. It's one thing to actually say you're going to do that, but here's the thing about Donald Trump. We don't see a lot of action. We don't see a lot of results from Donald Trump. So, what the fuck? Carolyn says, hey, Mike. Hey, Carolyn. Um, Kimmy Adkins said, followed you here from TikTok. TikTok dropped it and never went back. I'd be tempted to do that, to drop TikTok, but here's my problem. I have quite a few followers on TikTok, and as much as I'm not a fan of TikTok these days and the way they run things, I feel a certain amount of obligation to those people who follow me on TikTok. That may be their only way to catch up on some of the things going on. So I kind of feel a responsibility to be there just as I always have been for the last 4 years. But if they shut it down and don't open it up again, remember, we got about 2 months left before the next deadline, unless Donald Trump can pull something off, which he probably will. There's just too much money and too much power on TikTok just to throw it away. Nobody's going to do that. But there's going to be a lot of posturing and a lot of people trying to get their taste out of TikTok. Um, As he says, yes, it alerted me that you are live. That's good to know. That's good to know that we are getting alerts sent out when we go live. So this will give me an opportunity to go live more often. Now, the other thing I found interesting, I don't know quite how it works, excuse me, but I have the opportunity when I'm setting this up to send an invite to somebody to co-host this with me. I don't know what that looks like. I don't know how that feels, but I know on TikTok I've been able to do the TikTok lives, pull in some regular guests and pull in some people randomly to talk. And I really like doing that because I think the people out there in the audience have as much important things to say as I do. So maybe the next time I do Substack live, I'll bring somebody with me, somebody who'll make me look good, which isn't hard to do. Let's see. Susan says, glad I found you here. Still trying to figure out this app, how it works. Yeah, but we all were in the same situation with TikTok and YouTube too. We'll figure it out. Um, Need help. How do you clear your photos off of Facebook? I mean, I suppose you can go in there and delete them. I'm not the guy to answer. I'm not the tech guru, but there's probably somebody out here that might be able to tell you. So if you know, help Marie out. All right, Betsy says, my son is 18. He is scared, and I hate this for him. I get that. If I was 18 years old, I'd be nervous too. The one thing I've learned by being 18 and now 64 years of age, 18-year-olds aren't that far out of childhood. They're a little emotional about things. They're scared. They're used to being protected. And they see things going the way they are, and they get worried. And I get that. I get that. But tell your son this. This is what I try to tell people who are scared and not know what the future brings. Take me, for example. I'm 64 years old. In my 64 years, I've suffered all the trials, tribulations, and tragedies anybody has ever struggled with. I've had days where I didn't think I'd make it through or get a chance to see tomorrow. Had all those anxieties, all those insecurities, all those worries. I had it just like everybody else, but guess what? At 64 years of age, I'm sitting here talking to you. Somehow we always get through that. Somehow we always make it through. So just be as positive as you can. Take things as they come. Don't worry about the past. Don't worry about the future. Take what's in front of you, deal with it, and keep moving forward. And trust me, if you do that, you'll feel better and you'll get more done. And in the end, things work out for the best if you allow them to. People have always said, well, it doesn't always work out for the best for me. And I'll tell you why that is. Because when something goes wrong, people get panicky and they start trying to do a million different things to try to fix it immediately. Don't do that because you're going to fuck it up, not the process. So just slow things down when you have problems in front of you or worried about things and just keep pushing forward. Ultimately, you will see the end of the tunnel. Let's see here. Nobody thought that 10 million people didn't show up. Yeah, that is a question. And I know a lot of people prior to the inauguration were saying, oh, something's coming. The Democrats have something up their sleeve. They're going to arrest him on the day before the inauguration. Donald Trump will never be inaugurated. Donald Trump will never be in the Oval Office. And as much as I would hope that would have been the case, I said prior to the inauguration, I go, don't count on that. Because even if he did break these rules and breach the Constitution, that's one thing. But the fact of the matter is who's going to enforce it? Are the Democrats or the DOJ? Well, over the past 8 years, they haven't done much. To think they're going to do this at the last moment was a little hopeful at best. I'll give you another example. Donald Trump fires 12 or more inspector generals. Just a stupid idea. But more importantly, it's illegal. And people are saying what he did was illegal. What he did is illegal. So what? He's done a lot of illegal stuff. Until I find somebody step up and actually hold him responsible, I'm not going to get all excited about Donald Trump breaking laws because he's been doing it his whole life. And look at where he's sitting in the Oval Office. Let's see here. What is the next step for the Democratic Party in the upcoming midterm? They need to get their shit in order. They need to get a direction. They need to get a message and they need to hit it hard. Clearly, pounding on Donald Trump didn't work for them in the election. So instead of pounding on Donald Trump, let the Republicans deal with him and let them sink with Donald Trump. We need to find a hero, maybe not in the literal sense, but a hero nonetheless, a hero that can drag us out of the mess that Donald Trump will create. It'd be nice to get a few people that may be likely prospects for the presidency, the candidate for the presidency. It would be nice if we got rid of some of the old guard and let the young people in and give them the power. Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, and the like, they don't want to cede power, and they need to. In the 2028 election, the majority of the voters will be millennials and Gen Z. And if that's the case, they aren't going to buy into the old people at all. They aren't going to buy into it at all. So why don't we let these people decide their own futures? Why is 91-year-old Chuck Grassley deciding whether or not these millennials can have Roe v. Wade or any of the other rules and regulations or whatever's planned for them in the coming future? We old people, part of the main reason why we're in this fucking shit show. So let's hand it off to the young people, not only the voters, but the politicians as well. Marie says, I am not a conspiracy theorist, but I do believe Musk Rudrack helped that piece of shit win. I don't believe he won on his own merit. I agree with you. I'm not a conspiracy nut either, but you're absolutely right. As I've said prior to the election, I saw no way possible Kamala Harris loses. Now, if you're suggesting that there was some funny stuff going on, not only with Donald Trump, but Elon Musk and Russia, you're absolutely right. We know shit was happening. We saw it. It was done in front of our faces. Elon Musk was selling votes for $1 million. We know that the Russians meddled in the election again. How do we know this? Is because America sanctioned those motherfuckers. We know it happened. And we know that anytime Donald Trump is involved, well, it's going to be a problem. So I know he did. And again, my problem always has been not so much did he commit a crime? Of course he did. He's fucking Donald Trump. The question is, what are you going to do about it? Who's going to do something about it? Who's going to enforce it? And who's going to hold Donald Trump accountable? This is my problem with the Constitution. Everybody says, well, in the Constitution, it says this. Okay, cool. So if it says this, but you do that, now what's the next action? Does the DOJ come and take them away? Not likely because Donald Trump controls the DOJ currently. So where is the enforcement in this whole situation? I'll give you an idea how blatant Donald Trump is. On Inauguration Day, in his oath, he promised to protect the Constitution, right? That very same day, a little later on, he comes out with flipping birthright citizenship, which is in contradiction of the 14th Amendment. This motherfucker promised to protect the Constitution, and then he tried to turn it upside down just hours later. That's who Donald Trump is. He has no fucking shame. He doesn't even know that he did something wrong. Let's see. Well, they don't need to go through Congress to fire the 12 generals that were fired today, and they skipped the step. Now, when you say generals, you make the assertion that these are military generals. That's not what happened. Inspector generals, they're kind of middlemen arbiters. Um, when there's a question about what government wants to do and what politicians want to do, they take it on and they say, does it follow the letter of the law? It's not a military general. It's kind of an arbiter of what's going on in Congress. Interesting thing about those inspector generals, too, by the way, uh, a good part of them were appointed by Donald Trump during his first term. Marie says, well, don't they need to go through Congress to fire the 12 generals? Again, these aren't generals like you're thinking of. These are politicians. These are people that are supposed to be bipartisan, that are making final decisions on bills and rules and regulations and those sort of things. So don't mistake that for firing 12 military generals. That's not what happened. My brother is going to join your YouTube live. Well, great. Um, I did a couple TikToks last week. I always have fun doing it. What I like about the TikToks is I can pull people in and get input from other folks. I think I can do it with one person on Substack. I didn't want to do it the first time because I was worried that I was going to mess it up. But I am going to try to do that. Now on YouTube, I think I can have guests on there too, but I haven't quite figured that out as yet. That's something I'm going to have to do. I'll be honest with you, my favorite platform at this point is YouTube because they kind of leave you alone. They don't mess with you too much. But I'm really kind of digging Substack too. I like the way it works and some of the features it has on it. So I'm going to be focusing on Substack too. And so to Won't Be Silent Abe, who kept bugging me about being on Substack, I finally did it. Abe, I just have to admit, you're fucking right. It was a good idea. Let's see here. I followed you on TikTok and I left, so I'm glad to follow you here. Yeah, I've been hearing about a lot of people who left TikTok, and I get it. And if I wasn't a creator with a fair amount of followers, I might have done the same thing too, because there's some fishy things going on over there. There's some strange stuff going on. Um, I don't know exactly what it is, but you can bet somebody with a lot of money has their hand in it. Let's see. Hawk, I think, did it the other day. As far as a live on Substack, yeah, it could have been. It could have been. I've been hearing that he's really focusing on YouTube and even Substack too. I think as creators, we're all kind of in the same mindset. We want to be able to do what we have to do. We don't want to be inundated with Trumplafucks. which is always the case on TikTok. It's a very volatile platform. All you have to do is get about 5, 10 of these fucks mad enough, and then they try to get you taken down. And I've always hated the fact that my future was in the hands of dumbass Trump fucks. Um, let's see here. Yes, please. I want to close my Facebook and Instagram and TikTok as soon as I get my pics off. Yeah, absolutely. I don't blame you. I'm not going to deal with I'm not going to deal with Facebook anymore. I was on there for a long time before I've been doing, this as an avocation, not just me as a person. I pissed off enough people, and then I thought, well, I'll take it to the next level, which is what I was doing. Marie said I was counting on that boomer and was so disappointed that nothing happened. Yeah, me too. Betsy says we're waiting for Canada's report, not sure what will come of it, and they have a law enforcement agreement. Yeah, that will be interesting. Leslie Funicelli says Democrats let us down. You're absolutely right about that. I'm angry with the Republicans for all the crazy shit, all the corrupt and criminal shit they do. But we put our trust in Democrats to somehow push back, to fight back. They always want to take the high road. They want to turn the cheek. Well, that hasn't worked for 8 years, and I have a rule in my life. If I do something a couple of times and it doesn't work, do something fucking different. That's what you got to do. Do something different. And apparently, the Democrats haven't gotten to that yet. Part of the reason we are where we are is solidly the Democrats' fault. And I'm sad to say that, but that's true. Um, let's see here. Biden is too old school. Yeah, absolutely. And that's what I was talking about with old school stuff was that Joe Biden, Schumer, Nancy Pelosi, they're playing by rules from the 90s or the early 2000s. We're in a different world now. This is a more volatile, aggressive world, and you've got to keep up with the rules if you hope to win. And these old school people just don't have it in them to do it. That's why I'm saying step aside, let the young people who understand what's going on do what they need to do. Kimberly Johnson says Democrats are going to have to roll their sleeves up and get a little dirty. I couldn't agree more. Uh, going forward, let's see here. Trump is a cheater and a liar. Yes, he is. Yes, thank you for the correction. I meant inspector generals. No problem. A lot of times the media isn't very clear on the things they're talking about. You hear the term germ general and you think military right away. I know a lot of people thought that's why I thought it important. I mean, it would be more devastating for him to fire 12 actual military generals. That would be a problem. But here's the interesting thing. He fired these 12 inspector generals, and it's unprecedented, it's illegal, and of course, the Democrats are angry about it. The Democrats are bitching about it. But there's at least one Republican that's upset. Believe it or not, it's Chuck Grassley. He's the senator from Iowa. He's like 92 years old or whatever the fuck he is. He should be gone. His expiration date has passed. But even he thinks this was too far for Donald Trump. So it'll be interesting to see what the Republicans do. I've talked to a number of people, and I think we all agree that Donald Trump, now as the president, is little more than a liability to the Republican Party. And as he does ridiculous stuff, they're going to be anxious to get rid of him. It may not be too much of a surprise that down the road a ways, when he's fucked up a lot of things, that the Republicans themselves threaten or actually impeach him. It sounds crazy, I know, but at this point, the Republicans aren't thinking about the things that Donald Trump can do now. They're thinking about how he's going to fuck it up for him in the upcoming election in 2026. And if he continues to do what he's doing, it's going to cost them a lot of votes and ultimately a lot of power. Bonnie says the president can fire them, but they need to give Congress a 30-day notice, from what I heard. And that's absolutely right. The president can fire inspector generals, but has to give them a 30-day notice, which he did not do. So what's going to come of it? like I said, people say it's illegal, but who do you call? You call the police, you call the sergeant of arms, you call the DOJ, whatever. You got to find something that Donald Trump doesn't control. Where he says, "How is Blue Sky?" I've not tried it yet. It's actually not bad. I like Blue Sky too. It's a little different situation in that you can't post videos any longer than 1 minute. And that would be a problem for me. Most of the things I post are a lot longer than that. So I wasn't sure how to deal with it. So now instead, what I do, I post all my videos to YouTube, and then I get a copy of the link, and then I post that on Blue Sky. So when you see my post, it's basically a link to my YouTube spots. It is glitching out with no updates. I'm not sure what you're talking about, but I'm going to be wrapping it up here. This was just going to be a short one. If you'd like to follow more on another live, I'm going to be on YouTube next 15, 20 minutes or so, and we'll continue this conversation and other conversations. It should be pretty interesting. You can tell your followers on TikTok to start following you here. I have mentioned that a number of times, and I'll probably do it even more. And if TikTok continues to be a pain in the ass, it'll be nothing more than a promotional spot to tell people to go to TikTok or Substack or I'm sorry, not TikTok. Go to TikTok, use it as a promotion platform to get people to Substack, Blue Sky, or YouTube. I'm not too proud to fucking do that. Julie Bruce says, "We are a military family, and I'm stressed about what he could do to the military or retirement or VA." Again, Julie, what you have to understand is he can't alone do anything. He can say whatever he wants, but he can't do it. It's going to have to go through Congress to get it done. And frankly, if they cut VA benefits or retirement or Social Security, that is political suicide. Now, Donald Trump doesn't care because he doesn't have to get reelected. But all those members of Congress do. They're not going to let him do something that ridiculous or that damaging to this country. So you can worry and be concerned about the things he says, but don't worry too much. I think the veterans benefit and Social Security and Medicare will be fine. Marie says sometimes you have to fight dirty with dirty, even when you want to take the high road. Well, you're absolutely right. Sometimes you have to fight dirty. If you got a pig attacking you, you got to get down in the mud and fight with those motherfuckers. That's just the way it is. Betsy says, yes, the Democrats have pissed off the younger generation and still asking for donations. They are like, no. Yeah, Democrats need to find a way to appeal to the younger set. They are the future. They are the majority of the electorate in 2028. If you're going to win the presidency, you better appeal to the young people. And the Democrats aren't doing it right now, so they better figure out something fairly soon. All right, I'm going to wrap things up here for our very first Substack live. I like it. It's good. I'll be back frequently and we'll do these live segments all the time. Um, Later on, give me 15, 20 minutes or so, and we'll do the YouTube live, and you can catch us there. We'll have a lot of other questions and comments there as well. It should be a good time. So thank you for joining me on my first Substack Live. Stick with us. We've got the YouTube Live, the Rational Boomer podcast. We've got all the short videos on YouTube and right here on Substack. So you don't have to miss a thing, even if you decided to get off TikTok. So have a great night, and we'll talk to you again very soon.